Great, let's debrief. I sucked at this, and this. And people are like, oh, don't be so hard on yourself. I'm like, no, I have to be hard on myself, but I'm not doing it in a negative way. Like that's the difference, right? Like this is a very positive conversation because it's like, if I know right now, these were the mistakes I made, I need to just do better in those few things, right? How do I build a system around this? How do I make this more streamlined? Like what were the actual core problems with this? So I think sometimes people debrief in the wrong way to just be like, you didn't do a great job on that. You didn't like, how is that effective for anyone, right? Like you just need to go out there and shoot your shot over and over again. If you're not currently going out and meeting new people, what else are you doing, right? Like what other opportunities are you opening up for yourself? Welcome back to the Unfold podcast. Today we're talking about the actual no BS advice that we have for every filmmaker out there. These are the exact struggles that we've had, that we've dealt with, that held us back from making more money, building better teams, even like communicating, like the most simple things. And so we're gonna dive into all of that. And by the end of this video, you're gonna actually see how we actually eliminated these things so we can be better filmmakers, so we could do more, so we could raise our rates. Because all these things, even though they might feel super small and like not important, they all add to the value of who you are as a filmmaker and ultimately like how you actually progress in your career. So as always, we have Wandro here with myself, Jason, and we're gonna dive right into it. So the number one most important advice I can give to you is being relentless. People think that, you can just kind of sit around and wait for people to give you jobs. And like, that's the number one mistake a lot of people find because like things just don't come that easily, right? Like you just need to go out there and shoot your shot over and over again. If you're not currently going out and meeting new people, what else are you doing, right? Like what other opportunities are you opening up for yourself? And I think a lot of people oftentimes just, hope that things happen. Like there's not a lot of hope in this space. That's, that sounds really dark, but when you kind of put yourself into this corner and almost like put yourself into a high stakes scenario where things matter and things like meeting people are equally as important as the projects that you make, like it puts a lot more pressure on you to actually go out there and try new things and actually go out and like, force yourself out there, because oftentimes it's so easy to just sit back at home and get comfortable and like not really try so many things. And like, that's like what I see a lot of people do. And I'm like, what do you expect to happen for you then? Right. And like, it's hard to hear sometimes because, not to say that there's like this grind mentality, but yeah, there is a grind mentality. Like, how do you expect to get better than the person beside you or the people around you if you're not like putting in the efforts or time for it? And it's something that is kind of like one of our values when it comes to how we approach these projects and the business as a whole. It's like the only reason why we've been able to like move quickly is because we move quickly. Right. And like, we're able to iterate and try more things often because the other option is you do one project a year. And if that project fails or flops, then you've just put all your eggs into one basket. And so our ability to try things quickly and to be like, that's the wrong direction, let's just stay over here. Right. Like that gives us more options to like do different projects, try different things, work with more people. And it is that funness of like, cool, this is how you learn, right? Through the mistakes, not through the joys of like winning these projects. And so like we've been really good at least pushing ourselves to that place and not letting the world dictate, or the things that we can't control dictate like how we make decisions.
How do you forge that path? Because I feel like it's difficult to go headfirst into something when you don't really have an idea of what milestones or steps you should be taking.
For sure. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Like in the beginning, when you're trying to just like free-for-alling it and figuring things out, you just need to be open enough to try things that you actually think might be the right thing for yourself, right? Because like in the beginning, the world's going to tell you a lot, right? You might have a friend that's just going to be like, oh, I have a buddy that you should try. Like he does weddings. You should try weddings. Do you think you would like weddings, right? Do you think you would like weddings?
No.
Yeah. So like don't do that then. It's like, it's so easy for people to tell you where the money's at.
Yeah.
And then you're like, oh damn, like it's like silver spoon kind of like, oh, I'm going to go try that now. And then you realize quickly, like that's just not the path that you want, but you could also save yourself that hassle. If you're like, I already know I hate weddings. And do you think you'll like eventually love it? If you don't even like it in the beginning, I don't think that love thing happens. And this kind of leads into the next point too, of like what passion feels like and what passion looks like. Oftentimes you're going to fall into it, right? Like you can say, oh, I'm so passionate about like filming badminton videos or whatever, because that's like a hobby of yours. And I always talk about this as like your creative North Star and like trying to get to that place. But if you give that a shot and you shoot a badminton video and you don't see where this is going to go, or like you feel like the approach is not necessarily like where you're at yet, I would still continue to try new things in the beginning, right? Because then you need more data points, right? And like, us, we're big data, right? Like
Big data.
how do you just get as much data for yourself as possible so then you can make better educated moves and decisions. Secondly, the biggest thing that you can also do is ask for mentorship, or find mentorship somewhere, or pay for coaching or whatever it is, because there's so much more value in being able to skip steps in your path and finding people that can like point you in the right direction. Because in the beginning, you have no idea, like I said before, like you just have no idea about anything.
Yeah.
Right. So you think every direction or everything is a possible direction that you can go into. Sometimes it's good to have someone that is giving you, hey, do these 4 or 5 things. And then from there, it's like, let's talk about it. Let's discuss and see which direction actually works best for you.
Yeah. And the biggest thing I've learned from my mentors is like, yeah, obviously like skipping some steps, some detours is great. But the biggest thing that they've taught me is the mistakes to avoid and the pitfalls.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Because some pitfalls can like destroy you. And some pitfalls can like, you can still like find your way after that. But some things can just like kill your momentum a lot. And then you're like, why did I do that? Like you kind of lose this spark for yourself. And so you're kind of like minimizing and trying to like, lessen the damage as you go through this path. Because regardless, even if I tell you 15, 20 things to do, you're naturally just going to sometimes fall back into these kind of like lesson learners, right? Like everyone does it. So like we've gone through a lesson last year and we're like, oh, we're doing it again, right? And like that's just the natural path of things. And like I won't let it happen a third time though, right? Potentially, and so the game really becomes, how do you try to iterate as fast as you can, have someone that's helping you guide yourself into the future. Because even though like when we purchased like a $2,500 course in the past, like I'm glad I did it, because it was the accountability of me doing it and being like, I'm putting myself up on this pedestal to be like, I'm giving myself a chance, right? Like I actually want to do this. And when you don't have this like this high stakes of it, like we spent $2,500 and there's money that we didn't have at all. Like we were like, oh, okay, they have a payment plan. We're going to max out our cards here, like pay anything that we need to get this done. And then within that like period where we took the course, like it paid itself off. And we're like, great, I'm glad I did it, because now I've learned these new skills that I can keep with me forever. And at the same time, I had someone to ask questions to and like figure out exactly like, hey, if I go here, should I go here instead? And then it's less about like them even giving me a yes or no. It's more so, yeah, sometimes they do that, but it's the thought process behind it too. And like, what did you guys go through to figure out and find this solution? And oftentimes it's less about, giving me that final answer. It is that journey, right? And being like, okay, cool. If I can deduce that you did this and like this was the final outcome, how can I eliminate all the other fluff that doesn't really matter? Yeah. Right? Because it's so easy to make your own decisions in this. Obviously, you're always making your own decisions. But when you have that pressure on yourself that like, shit, is this the right decision though? Like, I don't know if this is the right path for me. And am I just like trying stuff and shooting stuff in the dark, right? Like you kind of need sometimes someone to like remove that kind of the unknowing and be like, I've gone through this exact thing. It cost me $5,000 and it went nowhere, right? And so it becomes up to you now. It's like, do I want to follow this path or like try my own thing again? It's always up to you, right? It's always up to how you interpret this work and like how you put your energy and time into things. But at the end of the day, you're going to learn things that you wouldn't have known unless you went through 5-4 years of the actual process of it.
How do you recommend someone finding mentors like this that are willing to help you out? Yeah,
so finding mentors is always about finding the people that, are in the exact path that you want to go to, right? And this kind of goes on the flip side of like, you don't really want to take advice from people that haven't gone through the exact path that you have.
It's like, what do you know about?
Yeah, exactly. It becomes like, it's like the blind leading the blind type of thing, right? It's like, okay, that's not the right person that I really want to talk to. So you want to look at, okay, who's successful in the space that you guys are, the work that you like you want to do. If you're into cars and you want to shoot car commercials, you're most likely going to talk to someone that's into the car work, right? And they have those skills and those paths. And if there's someone that didn't go to film school, for example, and you're also someone that didn't go to film school, you have that closer connection to them to be like, oh, you guys really went through the same journey as us, right? And like, what pitfalls that have you kind of gone through? And this is kind of my favorite part of like the cohorts that we do, is because, every problem that we see now is something that we dealt with directly. stuff like, oh, I can't get out of this like this niche that I'm in. Like, what do I do? It's like, okay, cool. Scrap your niche, keep doing it for the money, right? Because like you already that person, and make it a little bit better if you want to, if you're trying to like elevate in that space. But if you can't want to like leave completely, it's why we do the CPM course, right? Cinematic Portfolio Mastery, is to teach you how to make spec to actually put yourself in the right path and direction for yourself, not for anyone else. Like it's for yourself to understand what your creative ideations are, like what your North Star is, and like what it is that's going to get you excited about the stuff you want to do in the future.
Yeah.
And less about, hey, I'm just doing this for work, right? Because if you can really elevate and understand who you are, you can also charge way more for that as well.
Yeah.
Because you just know who you are, how to speak to the agencies, how to speak to clients in that space. And that's where your biggest leverage point becomes.
It is very, very easy to kind of wander aimlessly in this industry, I think, because like there are no like KPIs, you're not going to get like a performance review every year. You're kind of just putting stuff out into the world and hoping to get like good reception, get more better clients and stuff like that. I think for myself personally, one of the things that have helped me out the most is you have to be very critical about yourself. And it's very different from being hard on yourself. I think you should never do that. And it's very easy to be, because, you might see someone outworking you, you might see someone putting out better work than you. And it's very easy to start putting yourself down because of that. You should never, ever do that. But when you do get the work done and you put it out, you have to look at it from a very critical lens and be like, what do I like about this? And what did I do wrong? What can I improve? Because that, at the end of the day, you're the only person who can make a difference in your life. So if you're not looking at your work and telling yourself how to improve, you're never going to improve, because your Instagram comments are just going to be like, fire emoji.
Yeah.
100.
Yeah.
Killed it. And that's not going to help. Like, as much as I appreciate those comments, that's never going to help you become better.
Yeah.
Right.
We have this happen to us all the time, which is just like, we always debrief for project. Sometimes we'll do it like after the shoot. Sometimes we'll do it after the whole project's finished. But like it's such a necessary step and the skills of what you need to learn, because it teaches you how to like communicate with yourself as well as with other people, and what to pull from. That's the best part of this. And this is how we grew fast as well, is because we didn't shy away from the conversations that were hard, right? We're like, this sucked, guys. Like, why did this suck? Right? And people are always going to, okay, so this is what happens oftentimes. I'll be like, great, let's debrief. I sucked at this, this, and this. And people are like, oh, don't be so hard on yourself. I'm like, no, I have to be hard on myself, but I'm not doing it in a negative way. Like that's the difference, right? Like this is a very positive conversation, because it's like, if I know right now, these were the mistakes I made, I need to just do better in those few things, right? How do I build a system around this? How do I make this more streamlined? Like, what were the actual core problems with this? So I think sometimes people debrief in the wrong way to just be like, you didn't do a great job on that. You didn't, like, how is that effective for anyone? It's like, let's talk about where things actually dropped off, right? Like, during our creative phase and like the pre-production, like, okay, which phases of the pre-production did we not execute as well enough, right? It's like, cause like those little 2%, whatever it is, that really push you and elevate the project. If you miss those in the pre-production, they just snowball down the line, right? And so we have to be very critical in our sense of like, okay, we could have done a better previs here, because now in the edit, all the way through, we're seeing these holes here that could have been better. Maybe we didn't spend enough time on the locations or the talent, or like, can we have prepped our talent better? Like all these things are about betterment and improvement, and making sure that like your future projects take that like 1 to 2 step gains every time, because you only have so many projects that you could do in a year, and you need to like maximize the efficiencies of these. Can you take a 3-day job into a 2-day job, right? Can you do 2 into 1? Like, what is the capacities that you need to learn here? Because there's limits on both sides, right? It's like, I can continue to do the same stuff over and over and think I'm doing a great job, or I can be like, hey guys, let's talk about what we think didn't go like great, what went well, and how we can improve from here, and having like real feedback for each other. That's not like, you did a great job, like you just give more vibes next time. It's like, okay, let's be a little bit more narrow on that. It's like, did you feel like I didn't give enough direction in terms of like them trying enough things? Like, did we not do enough takes? Like, do we feel like I could have pre-prepped them a little bit better? Like all these things add up, right? And sometimes, in the beginning, everything fails on the pre-production, and the whole project fails.
Yeah.
Right. And so like we needed to like go into these moments where, okay, let's just forget about everything else right now. If we don't even have a good story, then that just leads to a bad pre-production, and then that leads to a bad production and post-production. Right. So, over time we realized, and it sounds super obvious right now, but get a better story.
Just be better.
You could be so good at pre-production, production, and post that if the story sucks, nothing good comes out of it.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, it wasn't good in the first place, right? Like, let's spend more time in the pre-production. Spend time figuring out what it is you like and what you don't like, and then how do you make your story better? How do you elevate it? What's currently out there, so you can like kind of gauge where everything is in terms of like skill sets, and like, okay, maybe I can't push it that far, but that might be more like a logistics thing that's an issue. But sometimes I think people, and a lot of people fall for this fallacy too, in this trap of like, I'm going to start working on pre-production before my story's done, because it gives me confidence and safety of like, I'm pushing this forward, right? But you're pushing the wrong thing forward. So then now you're like, what are you doing? Like, actually, like I fall for this all the time. Like, stop thinking about what camera you're going to use. No one cares, right? Because if your story sucks, this camera is not going to save anything. And it happens all the time where it's like, you just need to double, triple down on your story. Make sure it's like completely fleshed out, top to bottom. And then even when you start to visualize this in previs and animatics and stuff in your previs, if it's still not good, you just need to go back, right? Like, don't keep pushing forward, because then you're just making like, you're just shining like a piece of coal. You know what I mean? Like, it was never gonna get better. Yeah. I'm hoping coal doesn't actually get really nice after you do clean it up a lot, but I'm assuming it just becomes smaller clumps of coal. Right?
It's the same thing at the end of the day.
It's the same thing.
Yeah.
So like, just spend more time, do the things that actually matter for you. And oftentimes it is the story. Yeah. Because everything's just bad after that.
Yeah. Because at the end of the day, like, if there's constantly problems in your pre-production, like if things are constantly piling up, probably means back at your foundation, there's a problem. Yeah. But I just want to go back to something that you were talking about earlier, like the whole debrief thing. I think that's so important. And even then, like, there's a great way to approach that. And this is even applicable to like beyond like your workplace and teams, like even just like your relationships, like with your partners or your friends. I found that like when you're debriefing, it's very good to not point fingers. Yeah. I think it's better to own up to your faults. And that's what I mean, like, when to be critical about yourself, like, be real with yourself. Don't front. Yeah. There's nothing good about that. When like the best debriefs I've ever had is when I was like, okay, guys, like, I fumbled this. I didn't do this well. And then like everyone already knows that. But when you say that, like, other people are going to take the onus to be like, you know what? I don't think I did this well. Then everyone's kind of putting forward like what they personally need to improve. And instead of being like, you didn't do this, and now like you're mad at each other, like when you take the onus for yourself, then other people can give you like advice or what they notice, or maybe you didn't even do that badly and you're just being a little mean to yourself. At the end of the day, like, all of this stuff, it makes you a better communicator, which I think is the most important part about this industry if you want to survive.
Yeah. So that's a really good point. And we don't want you guys to like think of it like you're at home in your bedroom and you're just like, oh, I'm just mad at myself. Like, like it's an open conversation with everyone, and you're talking about the project openly because you want to figure out like, how can we make this better? And like, okay, we didn't spend enough time here. Like, let's remember this lesson so we can bring it into the next one. It's less about, like you said, if you point fingers, there's 3 fingers pointing back at you. Ooh, classic.
Got him.
But truthfully, that is the game, right? It's like you're just being open and honest and transparent about these conversations. So then everyone can even grow from that too. It's like, oh, cool. I didn't even think he was thinking about that. But then it's like, I should actually start thinking about that as well. Yeah. Because then it just helps everyone in that sense. But all to say, don't like crush yourself over this. Right? It's meant to be a positive experience, and you're not like making people cry over this, right? Because you shouldn't be. You should be making yourself cry. Yeah. No, I'm just kidding. But like, don't take this. Like, the worst thing you can do is carry over bad energy anywhere. Yeah. Like, this is a learning lesson. It should be like an hour conversation, maybe. You're like, how did it go? Great. We like this. This was awesome. This part probably not as clean. Like, we probably could have like done a little bit more pre-production here. Previs was a little like messy, but it's like, for our next one, let's just make sure we spend more time here. or like the story kind of like funneled all the way down and it just didn't work here. And so the story needs to be cleaned up. How can we do better? How can we look at other references? How can we look at other scenes that would make this more of a cohesive like shot sequence that will make everyone's life a lot easier? And like that's the things that you want to see. You're doing this so you can avoid this in the future.
Yeah.
But if you can get here before your project even starts, right? Like hindsight's so easy, but like if you can like just do more in the beginning for your projects, like you're just naturally going to get better and you're going to do it faster. So again, don't like beat yourself over it. At max, you're hurting for an hour. And then after that, it's like, cool, next one.
Yeah.
Like don't let emotions drive you in this space.
Yeah.
Because it's going to crush you.
And it is very difficult too, because unlike a lot of other industries, like we're still doing art to some degree.
Yeah.
We're trying to tell stories, we're trying to show something.
Yeah.
Right? So it's hard to do that, like put your emotions into something and it comes back, it's bad.
Ooh, yeah.
And now you're like, oh my God.
Yeah. That leads into the perfect next one. When you send revisions off, do not get mad at what the revisions are, right? I think a lot of people, myself included in the past, where, we were doing a project and then we're like, this is it. This is the final edit right here. You pass it off and you're like, I don't like this. Like, I don't change this, 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 or this. And then you just like kill your own emotions and you're like, I hate this client. I hate this project. I don't want to do anything with this anymore. This is also why we do spec, because there is no other people that really say stuff on it. But like for client jobs and people that are paying you, it's like, yeah, just give them exactly what they want, right? Like don't let the like you should just know if they're coming to you for a project where you're just servicing them in terms of like you're just be like a technician shooting it, or you're coming in as like a creative partner or whatever it is. At the end of the day, there's always going to be opinions and emotions on either side because people are invested in their own ways. For clients that are paying you a lot of money to get something done their way, whatever, just give it to them exactly how they want it, right? Like make sure they're happy. This is the part of nurturing a client that's super important that you can't minimize because you're letting your emotions come into play. Like give them exactly what they want. You guys are happy, you love it, great. Let's do more work in the future. Like this is how you grow your business and keep doing things. If you blew up this relationship and burn this bridge right here
over one edit,
like who cares, right? Like they're paying you to get this job done right.
The way they want it. They're the ones putting the money in.
They paid for it, right? Yeah. And like they picked you to do this in your way, but like ultimately it's still their project. Like we have projects where we just shoot and like we're brought in for like the full thing. And then after we're done shooting, they just take on the edit and then we're like, cool. Because at the end of the day, they would have just pulled us into post-production and we would have just watched them give the notes. Yeah. So it's sometimes even better to just be like, hey, you guys want to handle it? Perfect. That's even better for us because now you can just run a full production, right? Yeah. But I think a lot of people, especially in the beginning, when you're like a videographer and like you're also editing stuff you're shooting, and you have this idea in your mind and like it just gets blown up. It's like there's a reason why director's cuts exist in the world. Oh yeah, right. It's like you work for this client, you think it's going to be a super dope thing, and it's like what you envisioned and what you sold is very different from what they ended up cutting, and you don't want to post it. It's like there's oftentimes people just cut your own thing again, and like sometimes people get different colorists even and different editors for the director's cuts. Yeah, because it's like that wasn't the direction that I wanted. Like this is how I want to showcase it to the world in my eyes. And sometimes you can't do that because like they don't give you permission, like you don't have permissions for that. But if you're like starting out smaller and like you're trying to push a very specific direction, for example, the thing you kind of shot it in a commercial feel, but then they kind of turned it more classic corporate. And then you're like, I'm not going to post this. I'm going to recut this, put some new music on it, make it feel and cut the scenes based on like a commercial style. And then I'm going to put this out as a director's cut. And like that gives you the freedom to also put out the stuff that you want, but make sure your client's happy because, your director's cut and your pure spec projects for yourself down the line. It's like, they're not the ones that are going to pay you necessarily. That's a lie. Like spec projects are going to, lead to more projects. But my point being like, the stuff that you put out isn't the end all be all, right? Yeah. It's like, you need to make sure that these clients are happy. But then the stuff that you put out is more visually enticing to the stuff that you want to be doing in the future. So it's like play both games, right? People used to ask me like, how do I differentiate and not put all my energy into this project, this money project? Like we've talked about this before, where like there's money projects and then there's like passion stuff. Depends, right? Like, is the money jobs still in line with the stuff that you want to do? That's almost my first question always, right? And if it's not something you want to do, who cares? Just get it done. Make sure the client's happy. Do it at a great level still. I'm not saying like just, half-ass everything. You've sold and they have expectations, right? Like your optics and like your reliability and stuff like that. And are you consistent? Give them what they expect from you, right? And then, but don't put more effort into it. Don't put more energy into it, because you're just gonna burn yourself, and like you're gonna get so emotionally wrapped up into it that you realize, why am I putting so much time and energy into this?
Yeah.
Like, why am I losing sleep over this? Make my life easy, right? Find the editor that's gonna do it for you, no problem. Find a colorist, like find the system that works for you, and that leads perfectly into the next one. Learn how to build systems fast. In the beginning, you have no systems. You're the account manager, the director, DP, gaffer, and then also the editor. And then you're also managing like revisions while you're trying to find more work and stuff like that as a salesperson. It's just too much. Like straight up, like if you're doing this right now and you want to get out of it, you need to like actively, intentionally think about the steps that you need to take right now to get past that. For me, it was finding Justin and then finding Adrian and then Zach, and then like the roles started to open up a little bit more. And like there's someone that played a more producer role, and there's someone that was more like logistics and back end. And then, creative was like me and Justin in the beginning or whatever. And that just helps you alleviate all these little moments in your life that allow you to like do more and be better at what you actually want to do.
Yeah. Because that's the whole thing. That's why everyone gets paid so much money on these big crews, because it does take like a lot of creative and mental energy to have to think about all of these things at once, right? Like as a director, why are you thinking about, like, I remember I was on a shoot and it wasn't that big of a shoot. We just had a bunch of people. And then I was like, you know what? I'm going to be nice and I'm going to buy a bunch of Timbits for everyone. And I brought the Timbits and it was great. It was cool. Timbits are like little donut things, by the way, in case you're not like Canadian. Donut holes.
Tim Hortons, yeah.
But yeah, like that's cool and all, but like why am I wasting my time and energy like thinking about like all like these pleasantries for people? Like we have producers for that. Like we have PMs for that.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Obviously when you're starting small, that's not a feasible thing, but it just goes to show you that like there's so much that can detract from what you should be focusing on as like a director or whatever your primary crew role should be.
Yeah. It's like a natural thing, especially if you're coming through the YouTube university or starting smaller scale. Even if you start building into like medium size scale, like 10, like under 10 people or whatever, that's still very scrappy, right? And so like you're gonna do as much as you can based on that scale size or whatever. But and so like even that's a great point. So even if we get into like smaller crew sizes and whatever, even as you start to scale up, you still need to build a system out to make sure this makes sense. Like you can't have everyone doing everything.
Yeah.
Right. Because then you start to break a chain and you start to realize like who knows what, and then like who's whose role is it to take over this call sheet? Is it me? Is it you? Like we're wasting time figuring out who's gonna do what and like who hates what and whatever. Like you want to optimize yourself and your crew as you grow it to figure out what do you actually want to do? Like what's your long-term goals? And these are things that we always ask people when we work with them. It's like, what do you actually want to do? Like if we're currently bringing you on as a gaffer, for example, but you're really trying to be like a DP down the line, it's like, okay, we need to have that constant conversation with you, because like, will you continue giving us the 100% or will you start hating this?
Yeah.
Right. And it's like, okay, cool. Maybe we need to like find someone that's potentially more suited for this role. That makes more sense. Right. And we're always doing these kind of like micro calculations throughout to be like, how can we continue to optimize this team so then we don't have to do the stuff that we don't like, but then the people that do like it, like they're really enjoying the whole space. And like, it's like, it takes time to figure that stuff out. And this is why we do it through specs and stuff like that. But yeah, the purpose is so important, right? Because if I just keep forcing you to do stuff that you absolutely hate doing, you're like, over time, it just like kills your momentum a little as well.
Yeah.
So for us, we always trying to be like, in the beginning, it was all four of us, like me, Zach, Adrian, Justin, being all the producers today. Like, guys, it's the producer day. Like, let's just figure out all the details here. And then you switch over to like logistics, like, okay, what cameras are we getting? And like, we would all have the conversation together. And we were like, by the end of a project, we were like, why are we so tired?
Yeah.
Like, why are all of us so tired? And it made us also second guess ourselves so much, because it felt like we couldn't make decisions on our own, because we had to like fall on the shoulders of other people.
Yeah.
It's like,
You have to come to like a unanimous decision amongst the
it just
council.
throws you off so heavy.
Yeah.
So in the beginning, it's like you're doing so much, and then you go so far on the other side of like, okay, cool, like let's figure some stuff out together, because you want to collaborate.
Yeah.
Right. But there's different ways to collaborate, and like everyone doing the same thing isn't really collaborating. You know, they're just doing like a, you know, it's like 4 minds for one thing doesn't really make sense.
Yeah.
You want to make sure that like, if Justin's really enjoying like, you know, producing, which he doesn't, it's like, I wouldn't put him in that role. I'd find someone else for it. Or can I take on some of these if you're in a smaller team to be like, let's combo this together. But like do it in more siloed ways to like allow the DP to like really focus in on the DP stuff.
Yeah.
Like Zach, there was a point where like Zach came up to me after a shoot and he was like, yo, can we have a talk? I'm like, yeah, sure. It's like, can you just like let me handle the DP stuff and you handle because like we came from the same spot of like we were shooting and directing the same stuff all the time. But then like that was kind of the switch to be like, oh, okay, yeah, I do trust Zach enough to like, here's what I'm looking for, and then I'm just gonna take a step back.
Yeah.
And it took time because like it was like a bad habit of me to be like talking to like gaffers and stuff like that to be like, oh, can we just like, because I already know what I want, and I'm like, can I just get up there? And I still kind of do it to this day a little bit because I'm like, you can be a little bit more hands-on depending on the style of directing and work that you do.
Yeah.
But I quickly realized how much more valuable it is to give people the trust that you know, actually trust them to do what they need to do and not like micromanage them at every step, and like, you know, just let them flourish in their own ways because they need to figure some stuff out as well, and not let mistakes and those things kind of like be the end all be all.
Yeah.
Because like it's just a small thing. Like, is that at the end of the world we're just making videos here?
Yeah.
Right. It's like it's fun. It's supposed to be fun. Like, why I should never. You know, you heard about directors screaming at people all the time and like that's their style and stuff like that. I'm like, oh, it's not my style, right? And it's not the culture that we've built in this space. And like that was built through, you know, us constantly revising on our systems to be like, okay, let's be better people, right? Let's work hard. Let's try to be the best that we can. But at the same time, like let's let people be who they need to be so that they can get better at their own things. Like Zach works on other projects outside of Tenfold too. And like that stuff elevates our work ultimately as well. And then it's like, how do we just take and keep coming back and forth to like keep bringing our whole level as a business up so that we can continually like, you know, just do cooler things and better things.
Yeah.
And so like, that's really the game. It's like, be very conscious about it, these steps that you make. Because it's not just like, you can't let something happen and then, okay, you know, there's no debrief, there's no nothing. You don't even have any context or like data points to work off of. And then you just assume your next shoot's like, it's just always going to be like this. Like we hear this all the time too for pre-production projects and stuff. It's like every project feels like a mess. And I'm like, okay, so if that's happening 3-4 projects at a time, it's like, what are you this is the whole back to the extreme ownership side of things. It's like, what are you doing that's not allowing the project to go properly, right? And if you're not having this like hard conversation with yourself, you're not rebuilding systems, you're not thinking past that, it will be bad every single time.
Yeah.
That's just the game.
It's just, yeah, because that's all you know.
Yeah.
But yeah. That story you're telling me actually reminds me of a project that I was working on, and we had like a small crew. And I was directing it, and I was also taking photos for it. And we had a producer, we had like a gaffer and all this stuff. But then I was the one who was like, this is a studio we're going to get. I'm going to talk to the guy. I'm going to lock it down. And then we need these lights. So I'm going to talk to my friend who has these strobes, and then I'm going to get it from him. And then we need these backdrops. And I was like, and then we're going to get the product from here. And then it was like, by the time like I had managed all of these things and I got all the stuff and we got to the studio and I had the camera in my hand, I'm like, I have no idea what picture, like what I want these pictures to even look like.
You couldn't think of it. Yeah. You couldn't like focus on the stuff that actually mattered for you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So like all of that, all of those problems could have been solved so easily if we had just like figured it out in the pre-production.
Yeah. This leads to a very important point is being able to trust people. This is probably the hardest part when I like probably the most common question I get with our students too is like, you know, when you work with a new editor, people assume this editor is like the prime top number one editor in the world, that without any direction, they're going to get exactly what you want out of them. And all you did was give them the footage. Like, good luck.
Yeah.
Right. It's like communication is so important in this specific factor, because like you can't get mad at other people and how they approach what they do if you don't communicate and give them the right direction. And this goes on the producing side of things as well as the editor or anyone that you're going to work with. Is like, imagine you just got hired on, and this is what I used to do too, which is awful. You know, I used to sell these projects and I would keep it so close to my chest. And 2 or 3 days before the project, I'd be like, hey guys, we have a shoot on Friday. And they're like, what? What do you mean? Like, what kind of life are you pulling me into?
Yeah.
Right? Because it's like, it's so, in a way, disrespectful.
Totally.
For both of us, for both sides. Because it's like, I don't treat these guys with the respect that they need in terms of like needing the time and the information that they need ahead of time. Like, because I was scared, right? Like, do they even want to do this? And like, do they like, why did I sell this job? And now I'm playing all these games in my head of like, but now he's got to do it. Like, it's 3 days before. Like, I've known this for 3 weeks now, and they know 3 days before the project, right? And then how can I expect this to, even though we were able to figure some stuff out, how can I expect them to flourish or do well without me properly communicating what this is? And every time down the chain, and you're going to realize this, and you're going to painfully realize this on projects, every time you don't communicate one thing or communicate this early enough, whatever it is, it just ruins the project. Like, it just trickles down the whole way through. And so that's all to say, when you start to work with new editors, because that's typically something that people start with, you can't just give a project over and be like, good luck. And then you get your first draft and you're like, this is the worst editor I've ever worked with.
Yeah.
Like, some of our best editors, their first project we've done with them, like, wasn't that great. But then you start to kind of build and like teach them and like be open to realize that I can't expect this person to have my years of knowledge and the way that I want to do stuff from the first day, right? But from their lens, it's like, I'm going to try my best, but you've given me nothing, right? So I'm just going to guess and try to figure out what it is you want. But otherwise, like, you know, you didn't really prep them. So just be a better communicator in all senses, because it's going to do well when you have to hire on a producer, you know, when you hire on, you know, whatever crew it is, you need to make sure that they are as comfortable as possible and they're aligned with the whole project, which is why we have all these systems, right? Which is why we built these things. And like, that's actually why we built like the pre-production playbook, for example, because it's like, these are all the small things that like really crushed us, because we never knew how to communicate to the crew, right? I would just show up and be like, they're like, what's the next shot? I'm like, well, we're over there. Like, okay, let me just run this stuff over.
Yeah.
And then it's like, okay, well, you know, I actually needed like a dome for this shot. And they're like, well, that's going to take 10 minutes for me to set up.
I don't even have it in my
Yeah, like,
in
I
my
actually
car.
don't even have it. Yeah. And it was like, this was the biggest trickle down thing for us, because it was like, I didn't tell Zach. Zach didn't tell anyone because he didn't even know what the shots were.
Yeah.
And so like, we've just learned along the way that like, you need to have a system from top to bottom. How do you communicate with the director, from a cinematographer? How do they actually build out the lighting plans and the packets there? And then how do they communicate over? And then from there, it's like, how do you actually do pre-production all the way down to figure out, you know, there's actually a roadmap that people don't realize, that like, this thing needs to happen first so that you can move over here. And this translates this, and then you go backwards, right? Like, but there's a system there that allows you to like really narrow down. And oftentimes people just go into, you know, shoots, and we used to do this with like a mood board. And I'm like, man, if you're going into a shoot with a mood board, like, good luck.
Pure vibes.
Pure vibes. Like, that's legit what mood board is, a vibe thing, right?
Yeah.
And then it's like, okay. And then a client asks you like, hey, do you have like the shot list for today? And you're like, what's that?
Let me send you my Pinterest.
Yeah, like, let me show you the vibes for today.
Yeah.
You'll be good there. It's like, when people are paying you, they expect certain levels of standards, right? Like a gold standard of like the pre-production. Like, okay, can I have the shot list? Like, can I know what the day's shoot schedule looks like? Like, all these things are the stuff that we've put into the playbook specifically because we've messed up on them so many times. And when you know, and again, it was one of those things of like, if you don't know, you'll never know.
Yeah.
Because like, no one's going to teach you, and then you just have to find your way through it. But like, we've actually built this system based on our style of how we do this, because we found that like, you know, when we started to implement this, people were actually like, oh, you guys are very organized. Thank God. Right. Because, you know, like, it's so easy to go from a project that you say you work with this A company and it's just very disorganized. And then when you come to an organized production, you're like, oh, I don't have to have the stresses that I used to have.
Mm-hmm.
And like that was one of the biggest things for us when we realized like, oh, people actually do like the system. Let's just double down on this. Let's make it work. And that's how we've actually packaged this whole thing up. So if you guys are interested and you want to learn how to like save time, you know, make more money and actually like save your energy before set happens, like we built this specifically for that. So check it out in the description below. We have a wait list there, which is coming out soon. So it actually leads us into the next one. Like you were talking about before, like the unknowns, right? Like what are the things that you don't know? And so like what were some of the things that you thought you knew, but you didn't actually realize?
Well, for me, I think the way I would approach projects so often, and I've heard you say this as well, like all the ideas, it's right here, fellas. Just trust me, right? And it is kind of valid in a way because that is what like a previs is, right? Like you already have like all of these shots mapped out in your brain.
Yeah.
But I didn't know what a previs was. I was just like, as long as it's like in here, it'll be fine. Like I know exactly what the flow is, guys. But that's not even true. Your brain is like,
yeah, you get on set, your brain's mush. And like, that's a good point too. Like you think a previs is in here and then you think your shot list is in here too.
mm-hmm.
And then like we used to do this where like you get back to the post and you put it into like Premiere Pro and you're like, wait, I don't have this shot.
Or even like none of this makes sense.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
the
very
sequence
common
makes
thing.
no sense at all.
Yeah. I think people need to, as much as people think they're really good at what they're doing, it's like the idea that you need to actually visually see it first and make decisions off of that is way more valuable.
Mm-hmm.
Because oftentimes people just don't know. Like you think you know, and there's a big difference between like what you think you know and what you visually can see in front of your face as concrete evidence.
Yeah.
Like this sucks. And so what you had in your brain technically sucks because like once you see it, you're like, oh, this isn't what I envisioned. It's something that your brain does where you can picture such grandiose, like this looks so beautiful in my head. And then you get to the space and you're like, this looks nothing like this. Well, you would have known this doesn't look anything like you're like thinking about, because if you did a location scout, you would have known. A previs, for a lot of people that don't know, it's like a pre-visualization. It's like the probably most important step of any pre-production is actually just going out there and like figuring out and seeing what it looks like, because then you can make decisions on pacing, your style, your sound, your music, all these little things, especially your framing and composition based on the space that you have, right? In the beginning, when you're like starting out, the space is dictated by like what you just have available. Like you don't have money yet to get the right places.
Yeah.
And that's probably like a nice big jump after that. But in the beginning, when you're just like winging it and like working on smaller projects where, hey, this is the only space we have available, you need to maximize what that looks like, which means that you need to go in there ahead of time. You need to actually like pull out your phone, shoot the stuff, right? And bring it back to post and put it into an edit. And then that's going to dictate and like tell you exactly like, do we need to find a whole new location? Or can we like relight this differently? These are conversations that you need to have with your team. And this is how you align, right? Because in fast, like you were saying, I guess you would just like think about stuff and be like,
and there would be so many moments where I would be like next to my DP and we would be looking at the monitor and I'd be like, or even before that point, even before we get to that point, I would be like, this is the type of shot I want. Like, this is what I want it to look like. And he would get like his G&E team in there, set up the whole shot, put the lens on it, and put it up on the monitor for me. And I'd be like, this looks nothing like the way I described it to you.
Yeah. And then you get mad.
And then I'm like, why don't you get it? And then it's like, how would this poor guy know what's going on in my mind? And the craziest part would be sometimes like I would have like a reference, like a visual reference. Like I would have seen a shot on whatever, like a piece or a commercial. And I'm like, I want to recreate that shot. Why don't I just send him that reference?
You just send him the photo.
You know what I mean? Like, there's no reason to keep it in your head. And if you're doing a previs, you can pull that clip and put it into the previs and then show people like, this is the exact shot, the exact energy tone that we're going for.
Yeah.
And then everyone is like aligned.
Everyone's happy. Yeah. And then you let them do the things that they need to do. And then now their team's not stressed. And like, I think in the beginning, one of the biggest things that stressed Zach and I out was like, we would, same thing, be standing beside a camera and we're like, that looks bad.
Yeah.
And we're both looking at each other like, what are you going to do? And then he's like, what are you going to do?
Me.
And I'm like, oh, you know, like you kind of get stuck in this, like, oh, you're pointing fingers at each other because like you realize you're in a bad spot right now.
Yeah.
And it's just so funny how common that is. And this kind of goes back to the whole idea of like, you know, working with an editor and this communication thing, why it's just so important to communicate better, and to be transparent, because you always want to get ahead of these things. I'd rather everyone know, right? Like an opening conversation where like everyone knows what their goals and ambitions are for this project, so we can all be on the same page. And then we all just like scatter, and then we all do the things that we need to do, and we constantly have like a re-up on like conversations. But like it leads to a really good point, which is a bigger thing. People, especially when like working with editors, I've heard this from a lot from like editors and like just directors, whoever it is, role wise, where they think they're like the best of the best of the best, and they think no one else in the world is capable of doing what they can do, and so they just like default back to like, I'm gonna take this in myself. Yeah, it just doesn't work that way. Like that's how you burn yourself. Communicator. It means you're a bad communicator down the line, right? Like the fact that there's editors out there that are just so good, like some of the collaborators we work with, like they're just so good at what they do that I can never even imagine myself getting to that place, because they've been doing this for 10 years at the highest level. And I'm like, I've been directing for 3-4 years at what my max capacity is, but it's not even the best level possible.
Not even close.
So how can I even be like, you know, like there's this fear like, oh, I can't pass this off to another director or editor or whatever. Like there's so many directors out there that are just so much stronger because all they think about is directing, and that's what they do, right? And so like, just know there's always better people out there. So like when you don't give the chance to like your editors, and like this is the thing that actually traps a lot of people, is like they'll send it off to an editor. The editor will do like 70% of the project, and then you're like, you didn't get it. Send it all back to me. I'm going to spend the next 10 hours doing this. You're like, you just wasted 10 hours. Like you're already paying this person, like work with them, right? It's like, what is like 70% for you might be 100% for the client. And then you're just playing this game of like, you know, moving one pixel around and whatever. It's like, send that rough draft to the client and see how they see how they like it. Cause you're gonna need revisions anyways. So like, if it's at like 80% of the way there, like the 80-20 rule, it's like, yeah, it's good enough. Like, don't even care about the 20%, right? Like that's the thing that we realized worked really well when we were doing YouTube. It's like Zach was editing everything. He was fried. Like he was shooting, editing, doing a bunch of other stuff too. And like he became the choke point of the entire system. So we couldn't put up more YouTube videos. And then Zach's like, I shot it. I know what I said. So it's just easier. Like I don't need to like tell him what to cut out and stuff like that. And that trapped us a lot, like for a long time. Like that system was so broken. And then the one day we sent it off to our editor, his first draft for that video was like 70% there. And Zach kind of had like some pushback and stuff like that. I'm like, okay, let's just give him notes, right? And then he sent it back to us. It was like 85% there. It's like, cool, it's getting better. More notes. Like, let's do 4 or 5 rounds on the first one. Can he get it to like 95% there? Like, who needs that extra 5% extra sauce on a YouTube video, right? And then we're like, oh, snap, this does work. But the past editors we had, we just sent them stuff and we're like, figure it out. Didn't work on the first one, doesn't work out, guys. Editors aren't real. No one's a good editor, right? Like Zach's the only person that can ever edit. He would take it in, fry himself, and then be like, I can't do this anymore. Like now you're just back at square zero, right? So like you got to just be open, communicate, and then just realize that like people want to do good stuff. There's no one out there that wants to do bad stuff. It's just sometimes you can't communicate it well enough. That's a lie. There's some people that like haven't gotten all the skills yet.
I've seen some crazy things.
Yeah, I've seen some crazy stuff.
I've seen some crazy timelines before.
Yeah. So like there's obviously, you know, people that are like good and like they're constantly trying to do better and you can trust them. You just got to find those right people and like communicate this stuff from the beginning. It's like, hey, this first edit is going to be like 4 or 5 rounds of it. But we just want to make sure that like we're on the same page, that like you can get very close to our level, because the end goal isn't that like you get 50%, I'll do the other 50. It's like you can get to 100% or 95% and everyone's happy. Like, let's move on, right? And that's how you build systems, right? Like find the choke points and the constraints in your business of where you're struggling with. I couldn't produce. When I think about producing, I fall asleep. Like it actually, like my brain tries to shut myself off.
Yeah, it's like stop.
Yeah, like I don't want to think about a call sheet, right? Like even me thinking about putting someone's name, finding their number, it's not my skill set because I'm not organized. Like that's just not a skill set of mine. So I need to find someone that is like tedious, cares about this stuff, doesn't like doesn't hate it, doesn't hate making a call sheet. Like for them, it's sure it's tedious, but like they'll find someone else to like help out or whatever it is. If I don't have to think about this stuff, fantastic. This leads me to, sorry, I'm just gonna go on a tangent on this one too.
Go
I
on.
used to be the producer, and so I had a hard time paying people in terms of like, I want to pay you more, so I'm gonna give you $700, or I'm gonna pay you like 400, because I had a hard time being like, we have a $700 budget, I'm giving you 700. Like that's crazy, right? It's like it became such a difficult thing for me because I couldn't separate myself from paying these people because I felt bad because I'm like a somewhat of a people pleaser, and I had a hard time being like, I can only pay you $55 for this or whatever random number. But that was actually a big crux for us because it made it difficult for me to reach out to the right people, to ask for favors, all these things. And the biggest solve for us was just eliminating that from me.
Yeah.
And like, I should never think about numbers when a project comes into play. It's like straight to a producer, they'll deal with the numbers. Here's who I need. Da, 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 da. And they're like, cool, we got them all locked in. But if it was me, I'm like, we would have been way over budget for the longest time. And it was just like a bad spiral. And so a little pro tip there. It's like, if you're bad at stuff, just figure out who's good at it.
Yeah.
And bring those people in. Because like a lot of people are scared of like, oh, I can't afford these people. It's like sometimes these people just want to do more work and learn and do different things. And like maybe they already mess with your energy and they want to like learn and like build something together. If you don't communicate this stuff at all, and don't know their vision and goals, then sure, it might feel a little bit like taking advantage of sometimes of people, right? But if you guys are all aligned and you're all on the same page of like, we're both trying to go here, but I can't do this without you and you can't do this without me. Why don't we just start working together? Even if it's free, you don't feel bad because it's like, you're all putting in the same energy and time. And so that's really going to be like, I would say where we're going to end this off today. Cause it's like, the better you can communicate with people, the better you can like be transparent and get rid of these kind of like fears that you have and realize like, this is where self-reflection is so important. And like doing your like debriefs afterwards, know where your problems are, because the faster you get to that place, the faster you can solve them and the faster your business grows. Right. So, yeah, that's pretty much it.
Cool.
Sweet. So yeah, that's it for today. I hope you guys found something important or valuable out of this. If you know any filmmakers or people in the filmmaking space at all that you think would be, enjoy this stuff or find value from it, please send it to them. Hit the subscribe button. Follow this podcast. It all does a lot for us to actually grow this space, so we can do more of these for you guys and just keep spreading the gospel. But that's pretty much it. Hope you guys enjoyed it. We'll see you in the next one.
Peace.